Hi, welcome to Advocate for Your Rights from the Disability Law Center, Virginia. I'm Brett Parks. We conclude, for now, our Informed Decisions series with a discussion of medical directives. The Commonwealth of Virginia was actually a bit of a pioneer when it comes to medical directives. And to learn about that, the DLCV's Dana Trainum visited with Dr. Heather Zell with the University of Virginia's Institute of Law, Psychiatry, and Public Policy.
So I know you very well, but how about telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do for our audience?
Yeah. So the whole 7 years that I've been in Virginia, I came from Pennsylvania originally. My whole 7 years here, I've been doing always at least a little something with advanced directives here. My background is in psychology and law, so I was really interested in the work around using advanced directives, medical directives here in Virginia to address mental health issues. Really liked it here in Virginia, so I've stayed on. I'm now a faculty assistant professor with the Public Health Sciences Department here at the university.
Now, you mentioned the word medical directive, and that's actually what I want to talk about today. In this series, we've talked quite a bit about powers of attorney, and I know there's so much more that you can do with it. So would you talk about medical directives and what you can do in a medical directive?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really is neat what, over time these options could be used for. I think the medical directive has really grown a great deal to encompass any sort of health kind of decisions that somebody wants to provide information on, whether it's sort of just giving a heads up about certain things or, being very clear and saying, if, this sort of situation comes up, this is what I would choose for myself, even though maybe at that time I wouldn't be able to.
Can you just give some examples, like some things people can put into a medical directive?
Absolutely. So could it entail things around, of course, a lot of people think of what was some of the original use around end-of-life care decisions, but really they've been expanded, and in Virginia in particular, it's quite nice that you can cover general health care considerations. Maybe there's just a long-standing sort of medical condition that somebody wants to make sure that they're very clear about, where Virginia really seems to continue to be at the forefront of being very integrated in what it allows people to do with their medical directives is to include details about their mental health as well and what they need for their wellness when it comes to their mental health. Other states do this, but as far as we know, Virginia still remains the only one that has gone as far as to say, look, we're just taking our medical directive laws that we already have and making it clear within them that you can cover mental health care. Virginia was very much saying, like, look, one person, you can have one document where you take care of anything you want to speak to. And it's quite nice how integrated and comprehensive it is that way, and supportive of just, sort of normalizing a little bit that sense that mental health is part of whole health.
And when you put this information into a medical directive, must it be followed?
It depends, because with the expansion of what can go into the medical directives, there's sort of a range of the strength of the information, like how controlling it can be. So there are some things in there that are going to be directives. They are going to be instructions that under the law need to be followed. Certainly the power of attorney can't just look at it and then say, no, I don't agree. They are meant to follow it. And those are going to be things like medication refusals, end-of-life care directions. Then there's going to be other information that's more so like a preference, is really the way we talk about it. In terms of you are indicating to a provider or power of attorney, if this issue comes up, this is what I prefer. And that leaves the sort of room for the folks who are in the moment making the decisions for you to take your input into consideration. But if maybe there's a clinical reason, like, oh, well, you prefer a certain medication, but what we're treating you for right now, actually that medication would kind of conflict and cause problems, so we're not going to follow your preference because it would actually cause problems. It's really a way for you to kind of keep your voice in the conversation, even though at that time, for whatever reason, you're not taking part in it. But your considerations, the things that you prefer and would like to weigh into the conversation can still be part of that conversation, even though there might need to be some give and take around clinical considerations.
I know that in the beginning, other states were looking at it. I think there were some studies going on to see if it has been effective. How did that work out? I mean, do we have any evidence that it was effective?
There have been researchers in a couple of different states, and we've done a little bit of research here. When folks had a mental health crisis, did it have an impact? And seeing that it did. Those folks who had the advance directive had about half fewer instances where the mental health crisis led to them ending up in some sort of coercive treatment situation, meaning, half fewer that they were ending up maybe in handcuffs or having a police transport to an emergency department, for example, or having forced medications or something like that, which is a big difference.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's one study in particular that looked at the idea of having a facilitator, somebody who's knowledgeable about the form and can be there to answer questions or be a sounding board, those sorts of things. Having a facilitator, almost 30 times more people, about 30 times more people finish the advance directive that they're interested in, the medical directive that they're interested in when they have a facilitator. So here in Virginia, since those law changes, we've really been trying to put that into practice. So what we've done is created a training to help individuals feel ready to facilitate. But in particular, we really enjoy working with the peers, so peer support specialists, and training them as facilitators, because they really bring a real genuine
there's something about if you're on the same road.
Yeah.
For those of us in mental health recovery, it just makes sense to talk to someone else who's also on the same journey.
Right, exactly. And feel like, they're just kind of there alongside you.
They get it.
They get it. They're a little bit ahead in terms of they know more about this medical directive thing, but otherwise they're kind of ready to be there and hear you where you're at and help you then just take where you're at and get it down on paper in the words that make most sense and are yours.
So if someone wants to either be trained to be a facilitator or needs help in filling one of these out, where could they go?
Yeah, great question. We have a website that has a lot of materials and information for folks who are interested, but also has links for getting in touch with us to ask about training opportunities, as well as a pretty up-to-date, we try and keep it up-to-date, list of folks who are trained as facilitators or can be sort of a person in your area who can help connect you to other facilitators. You're also welcome to get in touch with us just through the website. And so that website is www.virginia, all spelled out, virginiaadvancedirectives.org.
So Heather, this is the last of our 5-part series on informed decision making, and we have covered a lot of information, all the way from Ulysses to present day. So if you're talking to someone and they've heard all this information and they're just feeling overwhelmed, what would you say to them? Where do they start? What would you say?
What this comes down to is you are one person and you have health, and there are different aspects to it. If you want to say something about that, it can be just one thing about your health. If you want to communicate anything about your health, you would have liked to have done that, or in conversation with a doctor, well, you can also just write it down on a piece of paper. It's really just a piece of paper that you've written down that one thought. Even if you just start there, if you have something to say about your health, Virginia law is there to back you up, and you can get started on that, even if it takes you a little while. There's lots of material out there to support you, and I just hope you start thinking about writing it down.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was great talking to you again.
It's wonderful to talk with you.
We thank Dr. Zell for that informative interview, and we have even more helpful information on our website, dlcv.org. Thanks for watching, and remember to advocate for your rights.
The Disability Law Center of Virginia is here for you. We can help you understand your rights and point you towards resources to help address any problems related to your disability. You can contact us by calling 1-800-552-3962 or visiting our website at www.dlcv.org.
This video contains general information for educational purposes. This should not be considered legal advice. It is not a comprehensive statement of the law and may not reflect more recent legal developments. If you have specific questions concerning any matter contained in this video, or if you need legal advice, please consult with an attorney.